Well, I figured we would start today's video off with some excitement before we dive in and talk about what happened in the shop this week and all the work that we've been doing, and also discussing this weekend's plans and Carly getting back behind the wheel. I figured I would show you guys our new hats that just dropped on the website, www.tannerholmes.com. These are probably my favorite item that we've came out with yet. It's always cool when we can get creative and try some different things besides our normal colors. We have a Tanner Holmes 18T red, white, and blue snapback hat. You can see the gray on the front and then the American flag mesh on the back with also the TH logo. Now, as a viewer, if you guys have been around long enough, you know that this is actually my first ever hat design that we came out with probably back in 2017 or early 2018. One of the first items that ever came to my merchandise store were snapback hats, and this was the design. So we wanted to kind of bring that design back, but also add something new with, the American flag look, the American flag colors, to show us being patriotic and, proud of the great country that we live in. But honestly, I'm just super hyped to have this patriotic look kind of tied into the Tanner Holmes 18T brand. About 84% of my viewers are from this country. Then it heads on over to Australia, then to New Zealand, and then back over to the United Kingdom. So those are some interesting facts. If you guys would like a hat though, they are available on my online store, or you can catch me at the track this weekend at Cottage Grove, which we will talk about here in a second. Let's jump into today's video. All right, well, it is late here in Southern Oregon. Welcome back to today's YouTube video, though. We have a couple of different topics to cover today. The main one, though, being what have we been up to lately here in the race shop at THR. Also, we're going to discuss this weekend's plans and who's going to be behind the wheel of a race car. Spoiler alert, it's not going to be me and the Holmes family. Carly is going to be racing. You guys can see we have an empty spot here in the race shop. This is usually where Carly's car goes. And then we have my car sitting over here, and it actually doesn't have a rear end in it. And forgive us, the shop's a little messy. We have just been working really, really hard this week to get this race car back to race-ready conditions. And some of you guys are gonna be asking, Tanner, what happened? You haven't hit anything recently, or you didn't have any major repairs. So we ran at Cottage Grove, we came home third. You saw our flat tire situation, which really hurt us in the late stages of that race because it's hard to race with a flat right rear tire. You lose your stagger, the car handles differently. So that made everything very difficult. But one thing that did happen a couple races ago at the Ocean Speedway, we made slight contact in the B main event. We actually had to switch rear ends for the second night of competition at Hanford. And that rear end that we put in, it was a little older, it's kind of tired. It's good for a backup, in a situation like that where you have to run it for a night or two. But we wanted to get that primary rear end back in the car that we had to take out because it's just going to be much better equipment. It's up to par, it's healthier, I guess you could say. But also, all of our center pieces are gone as well, from the torque ball and housing to the torque tube to the drive shaft, which usually connects to the rear end, so both of them are not in the race car. And as usual, you guys know when we have bigger projects in the race shop and we're working on the car, I always love to set up my camera and then do a voiceover of what we're working on to kind of help you guys follow along. It's a little bit tougher to vlog in the moment because I'm really trying to focus on what I'm doing so I do my job properly. So when I do hop behind the wheel of this thing, everything is done right in the shop to give us the best chance at winning on track. So all of this in the rear part of the car is all gonna make sense. Let's get into the footage that we had earlier this week when we worked Tuesday and Wednesday. You were gonna see Bennett in the shot, you're gonna see myself, and also my crew chief Roger as we kind of do a little bit of work on the 18T. So the first thing that I had to accomplish this week was washing our pit mule. Now, I told you guys this is kind of like my dad's baby, so he likes to be the one that does all the work on the mule to make sure it's done properly, but he's been super busy with work lately, so I just decided to wash it to start the week, get it all cleaned up after the rain that came at Cottage Grove, which actually really got it dirty. Usually you can kind of just spray it off, wipe it down a little bit, but there was actually mud on it. So that was the first thing that I had to do. The next was dismount our flat right rear tire that happened at Cottage Grove as well from running over a piece of debris. But now you can see we're just continuing the mounting process on a right rear, blast all the bolts down in the bead lock, then go through and torque them to 18 and check them again. Then we spray a little bit of glass cleaner on the wheel, hoping that it slides on easy and mounts right up. But for some reason, this right rear wasn't having it today, and you actually notice it had a really loud pop, which they usually don't slide on this aggressively. Once we have our tire all mounted up, we like to set it to the air pressure that we would run during a race and then see what it rolls out to, then we know how big our right rear is. Then we always make sure to mark it up, and then here's a look at the right rear that came off the race car. Brand new tire to start the night, ran over debris, and now it is junk. So that's going in the junk pile. We will not be using it again. That's one of those really unfortunate deals. You just, you hate to see it. So that was a little bit of work outside as well. You saw the meal, you saw us working on that right rear tire, getting it all mounted up. Now it was time to pull the 360 out, and this was gonna kind of conclude our work for Tuesday. So we got it out there. You can see us pulling the engine strap off. We just needed to get this thing out and then, you know, have an open car ready for the 410 to get set back in. So it is Wednesday now, and we are continuing the work on the 18T. What we're doing in this clip is I'm just sliding. I just disconnected the torque tube and the torque ball from the rear part, from the rear end, and actually from the housing in the front. So I just slid that out of the car, and the rear end is not hooked up either. Roger got that all taken care of, and we're gonna be sliding that out of the car. Here's a look at all the stuff that we have in the solvent tank, because when we are doing some of these, I guess you could say bigger projects, and we're taking stuff apart, when we put it back together, it might as well be clean. So we got that all in the solvent tank, and we're gonna be cleaning that here in just a minute. Here's some footage of us sliding the rear end out. We got that all dialed in, and now it's time to spend a minute in the solvent tank to get everything cleaned up, get all the grease off, because like I said, if we're gonna put this effort into, you know, cleaning, or taking apart, I should say, we might as well make sure it's clean. So after that, we slide the 410 back in, and that was actually quite easy. You can see Bennett in there helping, Roger, myself, and that was kind of our work for Wednesday. So hopefully after watching all that, our situation and what we're trying to do makes more sense now. This rear end is the one that's gonna go back in this race car right here. And the reason it cannot go back in yet is actually because we're waiting on our new titanium studs that we got for the rear end. Originally, we used to connect the torque tube to the rear end with bolts. And those actually worked quite well for many years. We didn't have really any problems, just a couple of times, but you noticed in Ocean, we had the problem where the rear end actually disconnected from the torque tube because the bolts got stretched and then they eventually just break off. And we had that problem, and then also I noticed that something similar happened after Cottage Grove, but I didn't pick up on it until I washed the race car and we got all the panels off. So that's twice so far in 2021 that the bolts were failing us. So you know what? We decided a lot of the top teams use studs. I'm pretty sure like 100% of the World of Outlaw guys do. So we ordered some titanium studs. We're waiting for them to come in, and now we're switching our program over to that. In that footage, another thing that you guys saw was us drop the 410 back in this race car. I know we've been doing a lot of back and forth here recently because, you know, we run a 360 one night, then maybe the 410 the next, and we have this race car. This is our primary car, so it's easy just to switch engines. But in the shop, we put the 410 back in because our next race is actually going to be the Peter Murphy Classic, and we're going to be running with the King of Thunder 410 sprint cars one night and the KWS King of the West 410s the other night. So that's here in a couple of weeks, but this was the easiest engine drop-in, I guess you could say, because when you don't have the housing, the torque ball, the drive shaft, and the torque tube to worry about, all you're doing is bolting this engine right into the firewall and it slides right in. And to explain why we're working on all this stuff in front of the rear end, because technically that could be in the race car right now, we are actually working on switching our program over to this different U-joint. For any viewers that don't know, this is the U-joint right here. So that is what is attached to the motor and actually sticks through the firewall on this side. But actually these U-joints that we're switching to are larger. So our housing, which the housing is which goes around it. If we go over here to our other car, this is all King product. This right here is the housing. So that all surrounds the U-joint. So anyway, these new U-joints that we're gonna be running are just a little bit larger, so we're waiting on some new components to kind of put all of this back together in the race car. So that is an update on that. But I think as far as the 18T goes, that gets you guys kind of all caught up. I think the last thing to talk about here in today's video is Carly racing this Saturday at the Cottage Grove Speedway. Earlier, we got her race car all loaded up, and I caught up with her for 1 second to get her a feature in today's vlog, so here's what she had to say. Well, Carly, another weekend at Cottage Grove. Share with the viewers a couple things that you had to do during the week to get this race car ready to rip Saturday.
Okay, so first I washed the car, got it nice and purty, and then I had to clean some of the nozzles in the engine, so I got those all nice and clean, got all the dirt out of them, and then I just did some of the regular maintenance, making sure bolts were tight, put in back the panels on, the wing, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so Carly had a lot to do. She was very busy, but got a lot of this together on her own in the race shop, which was awesome to see. So second start, biggest thing, keep making improvements. How are you feeling now that you kind of got like that first race out of the way, you know, back in the car, hadn't been in it for a while, and at Cottage Grove, the place where you've made all your laps?
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of pressure on me now, so maybe I can get on the gas more.
Absolutely. So you guys are going to be cheering Carly on. We'll have a full video from Saturday. I think the weather looks all right. You know, I think there's a little chance of rain, but hopefully a huge car count, great track conditions. It's been all right so far to start the season. A lot of the races have been super slick. It was a little more hooked up when we ran the 360 there last weekend, but overall should be fun. So we have one more night of you going, or one more day at school for Carly. We're going to get everything finished, loaded up, and we'll be heading north to Cottage Grove on Saturday morning. So the whole family is absolutely ecstatic to watch Carly race again this weekend. Her second start, we're hoping she kind of just picks up where she left off. She started the night a little slow, just trying to figure things out, but she really got on it in a couple weeks ago's main event. So if she can start off the night with that pace, she'll be right there in contention to run up front. But now it is time to shut up shop. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed hanging out with us here in the shop today. As I said earlier, if you guys would like to check out one of our American flag Tanner Holmes 18T themed hats, you can check them out at the top of the description. There will be a link there. And then as far as my car goes, it is almost ready to rip. We just got to finish putting it all back together. And its next time it hits the racetrack will be down at Peter Murphy's Keller Auto Speedway and the Tulare Thunderbolt with the 410 in. And then the last thing, Carly is ready to go racing this weekend. So if you guys haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like today's video, follow along with our progress here in 2021 as Holmes Racing continues to strive to get better and better, faster, race with the best, and overall have fun doing it. So see you guys all in the next one. I got to thank you for all your support. It's really been a lot of fun here lately, and we're hoping to continue living the dream throughout this season. See you all in the next video. Deuces.